Man, I had forgotten how, like, I forgot the mental clarity that there is in the morning when you just wake up and you're alone. Um, and it's still dark out and stuff. Like, for me, this is the time of day where, um, it's like I'm conscious but not conscious. And it's like this crazy insight in the form of, like, deep understanding of simple concepts just like comes to me in a way that my conscious brain doesn't start arguing with. It's like if there's a problem and it's on my mind enough that it's there when I wake up, that's where it gets unraveled. So I'm alone in my apartment in the morning for the first time in 6 weeks. For those of us that have not been here, let me just do a quick synopsis of what was happening. Basically, a year ago, I met somebody, and we had a big connection and draw to each other, but could not make anything happen. We were just too. Our comfort levels were in opposition to each other. What we needed to feel comfortable relationship-wise was the opposite, and so it didn't work out. But a few months later, I reached out to him and we started to talk and we became pretty close friends. But that initial thing was always there, and I was just adamant about not having a romantic relationship because of the level of stress that the first attempt brought me. So we were just friends, and it's funny when you take the romantic pressure off of a relationship with somebody, often it kind of, I think, tries to find a back way in or something, because by February, March of this year, we were both like, what are we doing? There's more to this than just a friendship. But I was like, no, I already decided. And then finally in the beginning of March, I just got so tired of the conflict between what my heart wanted and my head wanted. And I was reading Reality Transurfing, and there's a section in there about how we ignore our hearts all the time to our own detriment. And so I said, okay, well, what am I doing here? Like, I will believe that whatever you intend for will become your reality. I need to open my mind to this being a good thing for me, or at least that my heart knows something that my head doesn't, and just get on the same page, open my mind to the possibility that this relationship is something that's supposed to happen or wants to happen or will be good, or that there's a way for it to be good, and then intend for that, essentially. And so that's what I did. And also, I wanted to kind of update about this, because this had another sort of shocking moment yesterday. I've mentioned that the way that I seem to bring things about is by hearing a conversation that I'm having with someone else, or if I want something to happen, I imagine somebody saying something to me, and I almost always hear it. Like I didn't even have a person in mind about 10, 15 years ago. I very clearly heard a person saying, I can't wait to marry you. And 3 months later, I met somebody who said that to me, eventually. But, so in November, when my friend and I were just starting to kind of get into it, I guess, relationship wise, like we were starting to really talk a lot and everything, I had a quick scene sort of in my mind, a snapshot. Wallace Wattles calls it impressing formless. My friend just texted me as I'm making this video. Wallace Wattles says that basically you impress the formless substance, the creative substance that surrounds us. I love the way Wallace Wattles describes it. You should read The Science of Getting Rich. But basically, I impressed formless substance with this image, almost like a snapshot, where my friend was saying some things to me. And one of the things that he was saying to me was, we're good together. And we had a conversation on Saturday where he actually said those words to me. And it was kind of shocking. Every time, I mean, it's really, you know how it is probably when you intend for something specific to happen and it does, it's just, there's always this sort of shock moment. But, so that happened on Saturday. He left yesterday. Oh, sorry. Anyway, so in March, I decided that I was going to be open to the possibility that, though I felt like it couldn't happen, that it actually could, and that just because I couldn't see the way didn't mean that a way doesn't exist. I mean, that's what we're doing with everything here, right? And so, like magic, sad magic, I guess, immediately the coronavirus thing went from basically being sort of an iffy up in the air thing in the US to being a lockdown. And my friend decided to take time off of work to sort of avoid, he's an essential worker, so to kind of try to avoid being out there, he took time off work and he came and basically moved like half of his apartment into mine and ended up staying for 6 weeks. Just like that after I had the intention. And it was even more kind of shocking to me that happened, because I was more shocked that he wanted to, because part of at least my perception of him throughout the last year has been that he's kind of like, standoffish. Like that was my thing, was that, I wanted the relationship and I wanted to just kind of do it and just go with it. And he was very like, no, I don't do things that way. He would put distance between us. Like I felt like we would like go out and have like an amazing time together. And then I felt like he would be very distant after that, which was painful to me. Every time things would get really good for me, I felt like he would sort of be gone for a while and I just couldn't deal with it. So I always thought of him as being kind of, unreachable. And then all of a sudden he was like, I want us to, I want to lock down together, basically. And I was just like, okay. So this lockdown scenario kind of came about immediately after I said to myself and the, I don't know, universe at large, whatever is working on my behalf, after I said, okay, I'm willing to stop acting to protect myself here, while denying that I, feel a real love and desire for this person. Anyway, that was my short 8-minute update on the backstory. Sorry to anybody else who's heard it. But so basically, why am I making this video? I woke up and, I was thinking about how, this is kind of an everybody as you pushed out thing. And I'm understanding that more and more and more as time goes by. I think if you start from the premise that you're essentially in a bubble and so is everybody else, we're just basically a bunch of human forms inside an imaginary bubble just walking around, never to overlap. I mean, other people's experience, like you'll never understand it. You can't. There's no way. There's no way to currently to have any idea what anybody else is experiencing. You're alone in your bubble, and you came into the world alone in your bubble, and you're gonna leave it alone. And I think is a really sad idea to people, but it's not sad because it doesn't change anything really. All the realization of that does is make everything better. It makes it unconfuses everything. life as you knew it continues. People here are still real, I think. Everybody as you pushed out, to me, has nothing to do with whether other people are real. And it doesn't even matter if they are or not is the thing, because you'll never know for sure, because all you can experience is your own bubble. Whether or not they're real doesn't matter, because even if they are, your experience of them, your view of them, everything that has to do with them for you comes through your bubble. It comes through, they're essentially a movie projecting on the wall of your bubble. That's it. That's the extent of it. Specifically, I was thinking, why isn't this sad, or why don't I think this is sad? You're still not alone. So the person that's closest to me is my ex. His name is Gene. We've known each other for 12 years, and we were together for the first 7. And then we broke up and lived together for another 3. And then in the 2 years since then, I moved out, and we've been sort of, figuring out just whatever. He's basically the closest person to me. He's the person who has observed me the most. He's the person who's interacted with me the most. And I think, I think that we're attached to each other at the same level. That being said, the closest person to me in the world, I'm 100% certain experiences reality completely different from me. He experiences the relationship that we have in a completely different way than I imagine he does. Basically, the closest person to me, the person that I worked on a business with from scratch and built from nothing to essentially a retirement machine, that person, I don't think that we have experienced each other's realities in any way, shape, or form. And yet here we are, we still have the relationship we have. We still, mutually feel like we can rely on each other. It's like we have agreements between our universes. But how he perceives me and where I'm coming from and what I'm doing and what the things I do and say mean, they're not my perception of things. And yet we still have a relationship. I'm not alone. If I have to go to the hospital, I have somebody I can call, that kind of thing. But we aren't sharing a reality. We never were, ever. I think I was under the impression that for most of the time that we lived together and worked together, that we were kind of living in the same universe, but we never were. We never were. That's an illusion. And so the conclusion that leads me to, and why I was thinking about this, and how it relates to my friend that was just here, who, I'm working out the relationship thing with. Other people's universes, their decisions, the way they view you, the things they say, the way they interpret you, it has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with you. The Four Agreements, the book The Four Agreements, is another one that I think, if my channel is speaking to you, or I don't know, that's one of the books I think that really started to make sense to me once I got how totally in control of your own universe you are, because it's just you in it. other people's decisions, their desires, the way they act, and, you know, the things they say, they don't, they're just interacting with their universe's interpretation of you. And that's why you can never take things personally. Why it's never right to take things personally. You're interacting with somebody else's universe that is so complex. It's as complex as yours is. And so you can't, it's never personal to you, even when they are saying it is personal to you. You know, I was thinking a lot about my recent 6-week experience with my friend, and I know for a fact we experienced it totally differently, even though it didn't feel like we did. It felt like we were right on the same page about everything. But I know that the biggest thing I think that came out of this that I didn't get till this morning is that nothing about my relationship with him from the beginning was ever personal to me. It was never about what I have to offer, essentially. It was never about me. And the way I viewed him wasn't about him either. That had to do with me. So I don't know. I think that's comforting.